Okay, so we are starting Unit 4, which is Contextual Applications of Differentiation. It's a pretty short unit, but it's got some really important stuff in it, which should really, really strengthen what you do on the AP exam. And so I like this. In the last two units, we've defined the derivative graphically, algebraically, numerically as slope of the tangent line, instantaneous rate of change. In this lesson, I want to interpret the meaning of the derivative in a verbal manner as it relates to real world, and it goes into a little bit about Newton, how he called his notation was um, used he used f of x notation, and Leibniz, which is how I've always said his name, used this dy dx notation, which is is great as far as we've held on to both of them because they both have their uses, and we talked about that in class. And so with Leibniz notation, f prime of 3 is written like this: dy dx when x is 3. So here's a good example. Um, Sean's cleaning out a saltwater fish tank and needs to drain some water in order to adjust the saline levels. The volume of the tank is V. It's been drained over time in T minutes. What is a meaningful interpretation of the following statement as it relates to Sean's fish tank? Okay, this seems like typing to me. So let's escape there, type there. All right. So we have the Leibniz notation, dv/dt, and then it says t equals 3 equals 2. Well, this means the rate in which the volume of the tank is decreasing at 2, and this is in gallons per minute when t equals 2 minutes. Okay, so that's how you say all of that in words. And so if you were to talk about this on the AP exam, you'd have to say something like this. You need to talk about the rate and say that it and have the proper units, so the 2 gallons per minute, and when that is happening in particular. Okay, so there's example one. Let's head to number two. All right, now, so just like any other language course, you need to use proper names, spellings, and grammar. All right, AP student, no different. However, there are certain things that they're looking for whenever you're talking about one of these. It says the Alberta tar sands are one of the biggest oil reserves in the world. Yet extracting fossil fuel costs from the cost more than the profits made. If the cost is C in dollars extracted is losing $3 on every barrel, write the derivative. Okay, so we're going to use the Leibniz notation because that's what we did on the last problem. And so we can say then if C is the cost, all right, and we're losing $3 on every barrel. All right, so then that means that the change in the cost for every barrel, okay, uh, is equal to negative $3. It's going down $3 per barrel. So DC, they already defined the variables for us. DC and B was not defined. So I should say let B equal number of barrels of oil. All right, there we go. That takes care of A. All right, B. Deepwater Horizon oil spill, regarded one of the largest environmental disasters in American history. Mark Wahlberg. The oil leak was discovered on April 22nd, 2010. BP originally estimated the flow rate was about 790 meters per day at the end of the first week. Okay, so we could say cubic meters per day. All right, so we could say, what do we want to say? The flow. So F equals, uh, I don't know. Flow rate was, I don't want to use O for oil. Um, yeah, we'll say flow is amount of oil in cubic meters. And then also we would want to say that I'm going to use T for time. So T equals the time in days. All right, so here we go. Check this out. So this means if these are the variables that we're using, then df dt at a particular moment when t was equal to 7, that was the end of the first week, was 790 cubic meters per day. Okay. All right. Population P of endangered mountain gorilla has an ongoing study tracking the number of gorillas since 1992. Population increased by 114 gorillas during 2003 of this same study. All right. So it's population P. So that's P is the number of gorillas. Uh, and we'll say T equals the time in years. In years since 1992, which is found by simple subtraction. It's not the fence post problem. We'll talk about that later. All right. So this means that the rate of change of the population with respect to time at the exact time that T was how many years since 1992? In this case, that would be 11. So T was 11 is 114 gorillas per year. All right, so there we go. So those are those are number one and number two. Unless there's some adjustment that needs to be made, we'll talk later if we need to.